CRWS, Countering Racism, White Supremacy Book Club. Like, share, subscribe, and comment below.
More about the Hart family. New documents shedding light on the couple's relationship just before the crash that killed the family of 8. This is KOIN 6 News at 4 o'clock. I'm Jennifer Hoff.
And I'm Dan Tilkin. Jennifer and Sarah Hart from Woodland went missing with their 6 adopted children back in March. Their SUV, of course, was found upside down at the bottom of a Northern California cliff.
And 2 of those children are still missing. Our investigative reporter Gabrielle Carroll has been following the story. You received new documents today shedding light on the Hart's marriage, huh?
That's right. We just received these documents this afternoon, so we're still in the process of going through all of them. But we're learning new details about the Hart's relationship stemming back to when they were living in Minnesota. Minnesota was where the Hart's lived when they adopted all 6 children from Texas. It was also where they were first accused of child abuse. Sarah Hart pleaded guilty to domestic assault after one of the couple's daughters, Abigail, accused Sarah of hitting her. We now have emails from around that time revealing troubles in the couple's marriage. 3 months earlier, Jennifer Hart wrote a friend saying she felt unloved, that Sarah was horrible about showing love, and that Jennifer felt she was raising the kids on her own. She also wrote that while Sarah loves the kids, she had not been fully present with either her or them. At least one friend, however, reported to Oregon's Department of Human Services that she believed Jennifer was the one who was abusive, manipulative, and controlling, and that she was the one going overboard and punishing the kids. Jennifer was driving the car at the time of the crash, and she was under the influence of alcohol at the time. Some of the kids also had a drug in their system that causes sleepiness. The crash continues to be under investigation as a crime. At 5, we'll have more new information found in all those documents. Back to you.
All of this pieces of the puzzle that's still not complete yet. Thank you, Gabrielle. A failed
to the CRWS counter-racist review of Atlanta, season 3, episode 1. This is essentially a decoding of the TV show known as Atlanta. We're covering Area 3 Entertainment, and we're just going to attempt to decode it and bring some constructive information in regarding to racism, white supremacy, what it is and how it works, using this piece of content, Atlanta. Getting started, I must say, I think this episode is pretty significant in regards to its content. I do like any piece of content that promotes the idea or just how tacky and terroristic it is when white people adopt Black children, non-white children. That should never ever happen in a system of white supremacy. And this episode demonstrates that, and I think it does use the backdrop of the Hart family terrorist attack committed by 2 anti-sexuals, I believe, just as we saw in the TV show. Larry being adopted by 2 anti-sexual white women. So this episode definitely hits, I don't want to say hits home, but it's definitely based off of true events. And I know people have their own thoughts about this particular episode and how things were presented. So I'll pause my mic and see if folks want to chime in.
The entire thing was hard to watch psychologically and emotionally until Helen B said she didn't like it as well. And then I had to confront why I didn't like it, because it was too honest. And that honesty reveals what a shame it is to be subject to such people and how embarrassed we should be that this is what happens to Black children under the system of white supremacy, to which we've all been complicit participants in its maintenance. That's why it was hard to watch. But once I admitted that, it wasn't hard to watch anymore. Then it was motivation. Yeah, motivation to be dedicated to destroying any emotional connection with people who practice white supremacy racism who are classified as white, period. Because this is the price we pay. They murder our babies, period. Their babies, us, as babies. They do the most destructive, refined forms of psychological terrorism ever known to peoplekind. They know how to destroy things that are unseen, but we all acknowledge things like ambition and that deep fear and foreboding that they are all powerful and all knowing is devastating. Devastating. I think also it reveals that Donald Glover, that victim who participates in a victim relationship, he's being directly, I believe, dominated sexually. This reveals he and we all know way more than we're willing to admit, especially those of us in denial. We know enough to be in denial.
I wouldn't be surprised if the victim Donald Glover stumbled across this hard family situation, and he got inspired to do this. I still suspect he may be confused about the system, perhaps less confused, but still confused because he is a fellow victim. But I wanted to talk about I want to
He's
talk about
directly in captivity, so his mind definitely can't function on a high level.
Yeah, I suspect so. And this scene and a combination of things he said made me think back to this picture of one of the victims of Jennifer and Sarah Hart. In this moment right here, this victim could have been just like in the scene we saw where he was like the black male was attempting to get help. He's like, "Hey, save me from these racist terrorists who are torturing me," and this so-called foster system. Perhaps this is what's going on here, but the race soldier, of course, he helping a black child from white people does not compute in the race soldier's brain computer. So, his cry for help went unaided. So he ended up being murdered by his race mother, so-called adopted parent. Let me get that back on the screen. Yeah, Jennifer and Sarah Hart. Definitely characters who are the inspiration of these characters in this film. Let me get them on the screen together. Yeah, I noticed. I'm sure we all observed how they were working together, laughing together, not confused. Oh, while we're here, while we're hold on, let me just go back to that scene to break this down for everyone who's somewhat still confused about what's happening in the system of race and white supremacy. There's a part where the race soldier, person pretending to be a police, so-called law enforcement, where he's like he sees the black child, he sees that the anti-sexuals, the white woman, they have the cohort of black children, and he's like, "Oh, I see what's going on here." And then that's like code talk, because he sees, "Oh, I see how you're practicing racism. You're just you got like 2022 slaves. You have all these black children who you are definitely confusing. Having two mothers is a very interesting concept, confusing to say the least." So he says that, "Oh, I see what's going on," and then he hands over the black child who's asking for help back to the people who are harming him. Because that's how the system works. They work together to harm us, to mistreat us. And we got that. We saw that displayed here very significantly because they also use code talk. because the race soldier did go on and say, "Oh, I know what you're doing. I know you're torturing these kids, but here you go." You know, he knows that, but he said it in his own way. And then and then she says, this one here, I think her name was Amber. She says, "Oh, well, we teach our offspring. We teach our children that the police are their friends, or that sometimes something silly, you know." And it's all
That's
very
the exchange.
mm-hmm.
They exchange the benefit of practicing racism. They told him, look, we set these victims up for you to take advantage of in the future. You let us abuse them now, and we'll give you some free kombucha. That's all they're worth anyway. It's some half-rotten cabbage juice. So this was an exchange. They agreed, mutually agreed to benefit one another in the practice of white supremacy racism. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes,
Oh,
sir.
When he
oh
said,
yeah,
I
one hundred
understand what's
percent,
going on,
100%. Go ahead,
think,
continue.
think of Jeffrey Dahmer when that non-white male ran from him naked and bleeding,
I
and
Oh
had the
those
no,
two
same
race
thought.
there
soldiers
I thought
there's
that
turned
the
him
same
back
thing.
over because Dahmer said he's having problems with his family and he's staying with me now. But
Right.
sometimes he does drugs, he smokes crack and all that. And they said, okay, get your ass
Yeah,
back in the house with Jeffrey.
there's a
yeah.
collection.
It's as soon as he saw those white women, he just immediately assessed him as a recalcitrant little nigga. But the victim who attempted to flee from Jeffrey Dahmer, I immediately thought about him in that scene as well. Yeah, A plus, sir.
Yeah, and that's something, as I've been studying white people, I've seen that's very, very common. White people allow other white people to get away with murder. There's a fellow by the name of Charles Cullen who spent a lot of time and energy being a nurse, and he was transferred multiple hospitals, and everywhere he was transferred, people kept being killed, and people knew that, hey, people are dying under your watch. And then because the so-called hospital didn't want to have any economic or financial harm to them, they just gave him a warning, even though they know he's killing people. So white people will sometimes get a slap on their wrist for killing people. This is how this system works. This is so as well, a person begins to study white people and really study how they function, you're gonna determine and see that, wow, all these white serial killers, they were like allowed to do this. So many white people could have prevented them. So many white people knew about this, aided them. And that's how the system will work. No matter what a white person wants to do, they're supposed to get help doing that. Chop people
Hey,
heads
and
off.
notice,
Reminds me of the what is it? The Catholic priests, how whenever there would be multiple allegations, they would just move them around. So they would have like Catholic priests that had moved like 5 different churches in a year, and they had like hundreds of them that they knew about in like written files and stuff.
Same in law enforcement, same in any marketing so-called industry, same in so-called fashion, same in sports, same in education.
Yeah, and look at the still on the screen. The race soldier is not confused at all about what's going on. And back to what EJ said, evolution is for justice, about how it's like they are they're tendering the racist man and racist woman, they love a good hunt, or they love good meat. So the racist woman, they're like tendering the meat, and then when the Black children get older, they're definitely going to be hunted by race soldiers if they are not behaving correctly under the system.
they definitely are on the hunt for the meat. What was up with the raw chicken?
Oh yeah, that was just a white culture, just trying to
I
add
mean,
some
this is
comedy to the triple T situation we are observing. It could be a lot, but go ahead.
definitely. I mean, this episode is chock full of. I mean, this is amazing. So I'm just gonna start from the beginning. That beginning scene, that dream. You know, if white people imbibe, black people may die. Sobriety would be best. And, you know, they're having a moment, and a lot of non-white people, you know, confide in white people, you know, telling them all these deep personal things about just, you know, ourselves. You know, I've done it as well. You know, we got to stop that. But the lake that he's talking about, I've heard something about an actual lake being in existence on a broadcast. I have to do my research on that. But that story that white supremacist was saying sounds very familiar. And yeah, you guys have any thoughts on that scene?
Yeah, I got some. Notice how he's calling it shit water, and they are on a giant mass grave. And I have an article here in front of me about dozens of cities white people have flooded to kill black people and practicing racism, white supremacy, Area 9 war. So let's see. I'm gonna read a little bit. So let's go ahead and where's some parts I want to read. Okay. Lake Lanier and Forsyth
Lanier.
County. Lanier. And Forsyth County, GA is a popular recreational spot 42 miles north of Atlanta beneath is what used to be a town called Oscarville, a thriving predominantly black community until 1912. That year, 2 black teens were accused of rape and tried, convicted, and sentenced to death all in one day. After the boys were hung outside a town, a white mob terrorized, drove out, or killed all the black people in the surrounding area. Until the community of Oscarville disappeared entirely, the town's population decreased from over 1,000 black residents in 1912 to 0 in 1920. The white people in Forsyth County flooded the area in 1956, creating a lake and covering the entire town of Oscarville underwater, where it remains today. Another one I'm going to read really quick. Benson, AL, a community of mostly black residents founded in 1895 by Will Benson, was flooded in 1926 when Martin Dam was completed on the Tallapoosa River to form Lake Martin. And this is a list as another list. So this is Neely Fuller has a recorded audio of him saying something about how white people, you know, literally control everything, and one way they'll sabotage a group of people is by building up a dam and flooding them out. And it turns out, even in the so-called nation we live in, that has happened. I'm aware it's happened so-called abroad, but happening here in the so-called states, this is new to me. So the power of decoding, you actually learn something of constructive value.
And remember, the half has never been told. And he usually doesn't say stuff just to be a figure of speech.
Precisely, yeah. And this whole part, I would just what the white man is saying, a lot of it is racism, white supremacy jargon. It's meant to confuse you. He says being white is when and where you are. That's total nonsense and meant to confuse you. Being white is being classified as white. Is you saying, hey, I'm white, and other people who say they're white agree that you're white. And then with this so-called white classification, you are allowed to practice racism, white supremacy, and you are given white power, awesome power globally. It's not whatever this jargon this guy said about being money and being and all that nonsense. Non-white people, if you're classified as black, you can never, ever, ever be white. You may think like a white person. You may, want to be a white person, but the system dictates that you remain in their classification forever.
Hey, when he said that they white till they ain't, and then he started talking about those Armenians, who did y'all think about? I thought about those Kardashians.
Yep. Yeah. He also said that they were like enslaved whites. I'm like, what? So yeah, I actually like wrote that down too.
If you think of the whole overview of when he started talking about what it is to be white, if you just step out of it and listen to that 2-minute obfuscation, any basic thinking person will go, he didn't say anything related to reality. He just said a bunch of fucking words. I think that's what Donald Glover was trying to show. This is what the fuck it is to be white. And then when him becoming the monster, bam, he was enjoying deceiving, distorting the mind of the victim. That was him. This was him saying, I'm actually about to practice being white right now. And anybody viewing this can see right now, this is what it is. This is what you do to be white. Talk total fucking nonsense to victims and make them say, yeah, I get it. I understand. Or that's deep.
Yep. Deception 101.
And they saying nothing except agree with me because I'm fucking white and let me keep talking and you keep listening. That's why he, I think, went to the Armenian stuff. And the whole, I think Donald Glover was saying, see, when they go to talking about this, he said white. Now he on some shit about a country. What? Even a child will go, why do you bring that up?
Yeah, but I don't know if Donald Glover is wanting us to see what we are presenting here.
It's almost like Boondocks. It's like you kind of see that they're aware. They can see the symbolism, within the system. Where in other instances you can see the confusion.
Same with the brother who wrote Get Out. He in the same mental fuckery.
Right. Yeah.
They're still crying out for help.
See, exactly. So this is why it's important. I'm not gonna say Donald Glover has any awareness of counter-racist logic. He just may be seeing the same things that we are seeing, but his understanding of it may be totally different because of confusion. So
he's using his own unique ability.
Exactly.
So there's a bunch of these type of racists in the neighborhood of Hollywood, and their fathers, uncles, brothers, grandfathers especially run who makes a movie, who gets on the radio, all that shit. That's the white women that are married to black guys in music and in so-called Hollywood. Their fathers are the Scorseses, and their uncles and their grandfathers are all them dudes. That's just not brought out, and I'm telling you the truth. So all these black dudes married to these white women are powerful. They're just not the direct plug, but you can't be plugged without them. So for him to put this out, he knows they're going to come for his head because he just showed the world this is the type of motherfucker that murders our babies. And I lived there. That's exactly who's walking around right now in Los Angeles, California. I think his life is going to change significantly in the next 12 months. I'm going to
have to disagree. I'm going to have to disagree as well because I still think Donald Glover is very confused, and I think that they have allowed him to produce. Go ahead, Miss Ash.
I'm going to disagree because if you watch it, it's really just about those two people. Like if you actually, the Heart story, I mean, I have a lot of thoughts on this in general because I feel like it's not even that he was inspired by the Heart story. It's exactly their story pretty much, which I don't know how I feel about like, depicting it like that personally, but it's exactly their story except for the fact that the mom, that's not how that happened, right? The mom didn't just like first of all, there was no physical abuse that was happening that caused CPS to take to kidnap Devontae Hart. Their mom had issues with drug addiction. Therefore, they gave custody of the kids to the mom's aunt. And the mom's aunt was taking care of the kids and they were living very happily. Then CPS found out that the mom was living in the home with the aunt because the mom doesn't have anywhere else to live. And that was the reason why they took Devontae and his siblings away. I mean, there was another family, like another kids that came from a different family, but it really bothered me that that was depicted. And I think that's the reason why I don't think that there's going to be any issues with Donald Glover, because he's depicting two individual white women. He's not depicting this whole kidnapping system that is, CPS. He didn't indict them, because a lot of people will watch this and say, well, they shouldn't have hit that kid, or the mom shouldn't have been like this, not realizing that Devontae Hart's family really did nothing wrong and actually tried their hardest to get the kids back. So that's what I have to say about that.
This excellent observation. This is just giving more insight to what we all understand in some way outside of the Hart case. Man, I don't even know where to begin. It's just when he woke up from the dream, I'm just gonna go back to my notes. When he woke up from the dream in the classroom with the white teacher, she was talking about how the ATL Falcons was doing something for Black History Month. Yeah, like in to take the kids to see Black Panther too. Like come on. It's kind of like, right, totally trashy. I'll stop there. Just wanted to put that segue in there.
Yeah, I know this is a really important question to ask by the grandfather when he's slapping him, and the name of this episode is Three Slaps, and he asks the question when he is about to do the three slaps, and the question is really, really important, and he says, what's your problem? And every non-white person, Black persons, person classified as Black, person so-called Asian, African, any such classification that does not mean white, our problem, your problem is the system of racism and white supremacy. It's why we are dancing on top of classroom tables. Yeah, it's why we are mistreating each other for fun. It's why we are killing each other for fun. It's why we're doing everything incorrectly on planet Earth, because we have been trained, led to, conditioned, and taught how to, just mistreat each other and be subjected in the system of white supremacy. Yeah, go ahead.
Great silly.
That scene right there, that just for me and just for everyone on the line, I'm just throwing that out there. Donald Glover may be, somewhat familiar with Mr. Fuller. Maybe that's his way of showing, that grandfather figure kind of slapping you in the face with the code. Like, what's your problem? What's your problem? Just throwing that out there.
That's interesting that you throw that out there, because I was going to say, you know what, Donald Glover, he might be familiar with the code, because there's a part way in the beginning when the white man and the Black male are in the boat, and the white male says, everyone yelling to turn the machine off. It reminds me of when Neely Fuller says, like, how about racism, how there's two people on the machine, one on one side, one on the other, and another person is turning something. He has an easy job, but he's told every time you turn this, the person on the other side is going to get punched in the stomach or hurt or whatever. That's what that reminds me of. So I was thinking, I wonder if Mr. Glover has heard, or at least a video. Why do y'all think white people gave permission to Mr. Glover to make this episode, or to put this episode out there? Any theories?
Yeah, I know exactly. Well, I think I have a good understanding of why. But I think Ray wanted to chime in. Go ahead, Mr. Ray.
Hey, I just think that the white supremacists are they're waiting for something. That's it.
Yeah, I just think this is nothing more than a well put together display of and presentation of the tackiness, trashiness, and terroristic ness of racism and white supremacy. You know, this is so-called good television, good filmmaking. It looks pleasant, you know, it's shot really well. So the aesthetic is really pleasing, you know, and it's still glorifying, you know, just because of how well put together and how meticulous it is. That's still glorifying the system, and it's not, you know, and promoting anyone to get serious. You know, maybe the black male getting serious at the end, maybe that is a, you know, a message there. It could be interpreted in that manner, but I don't see it as any promotion to, hey, let's change the CPS system, or let's change the entire planet that we're existing on. So.
Well, let's throw this Wilson moment out there, for instance. What about when they were sitting at the dinner table eating, and the young victim said that he wanted a hamburger, and she said, "We don't have that," and he said, "Well, the dog has it." So the dog gets the beef, and I'm sure everyone on the line is familiar with what that symbolizes. You know, if you read ISIS papers by Dr. Francis Chris Wilson, like, it's just chock full of symbolism. So,
Yeah, and that was just white behavior as well. You know, animals traditionally being fed better than slaves. You know, that's. And I did notice there's a part where Amber, she's like, you know, I'm gonna love that out of you. I'm gonna remember how he's really displeased with his situation, and then she's like, I'm gonna love that out of you. Well, there's that word again, love, and how racist men and racist women have taught us how to use this word love, and we don't even have a correct definition for it. And when a white person says they're gonna love something out of you, that means they're probably gonna harm you, confuse you, definitely not help you in any sufficient manner. You know.
Pretty much when you know, child services came, like, you know, boom, I wrote down dislocation, and then when he got to the house, you know, boom, he just smelled a bad odor, and then while he was walking through the actual house, they were talking about doo-doo soup. So yeah, those were like a couple other notes that I wrote down. Doo-doo soup. Wow.
Soap, doo doo.
Yeah. Sorry. Yeah, my
In
fault. Yeah,
Nigeria, they
soap.
call it that. That's what they call soap. Or they use doo doo soap. Doo doo.
Yeah.
That's an ancient African name. It actually used to be a group of people called that, and I believe it was the Portuguese or the Spanish, but they wanted to degrade them so much because they resisted enslavement so bad, they made black people, I believe in Congo, start calling shit doo doo. So now worldwide, that was my first thing I was taught, that shit was doo doo.
Notice how the black principal is sitting down, the black female principal is sitting down, and the white woman is standing up. And I don't know if y'all noticed this, but she cut her off. The white lady, the white woman, cut the black principal off. Who's in charge here?
The white teacher.
Correct.
Her school persona was totally different from who she was in her so-called private life.
since this is
The racist.
Did anyone notice how the so-called African male child did not speak? Like almost like his character was like some sort of symbol for, like, you know, just absolutely no action against, you know, the people harming you, just total subjugation, and you have no energy to counter it. because that's what the
Showing
system has done to you.
showing the pecking order, I think, also of what the racists think of
Yeah, I
those
think so as
born
well.
directly
Yeah.
from Africa. You're not even a nigger, you're an African.
Yeah, the whole changing of his name, like we're not gonna call you Laquavius no more. We're gonna call you Larry.
Oh yeah.
You know, then they were in the actual garden. Well, pretty much they were in the fields basically. And when he was gonna sing his song, they told him to sing like a Negro spiritual, like, you know, I don't want to work no more or something like that. Yeah, like, you know, it was to the point to where he ended up eating the raw chicken, which probably sparked him to, you know, as soon as they got into the car, he was like, you know, they getting ready to kill us.
And check the
You
scene
know,
after he ate the raw chicken. You
yeah,
know, the dream he had after that.
yeah,
You know,
yep,
that coon.
yep.
Like, what
It
was
just
that
woke him up.
insinuating? Yeah.
Yeah, maybe it just woke him up. Like, okay, I got to get out of this situation.
In the dream, when the dog was that supposed to say like the dog is his dad in that situation? Like the dog has more power than him or something? Oh yeah.
Yes. Yes.
I suspect
You're
so.
like how? Yeah.
Does anyone remember the name of the apparatus the dog was sitting in?
I do not.
I
I
do
don't.
not remember.
It's called a high chair. It's called a high chair.
Oh wow.
And the
Oh,
dog
oh,
was
oh
higher than the chair.
wow.
Oh my
Hey.
god, in your face. See, like, and the film is blocking everything that you see is supposed to mean something, you know. So this is why I'm glad we have so many attempted kind of races on the panel today, so we can catch everything. Everything here is supposed to mean something, but you know, of course, we don't. We're not gonna try to decode everything on the screen right now, but very telling. So did
I
anyone
think
notice?
Mr. Glover was mocking the false interpretation of masculine and feminine when people with acute insanity attempt to have so-called families.
Did you guys find it interesting too that the first CPS person takes him away the same day, but then the second one, who's a Black female, even though she knew the conditions they were living in were bad, she said, "I'm gonna help you," and then left them there. I thought that was
Came with no
interesting.
protection either. Also,
Yeah, like maybe she didn't have the power, like she just doesn't have the power to do it.
It's also hinted that these insane anti-sexuals killed her. You know,
Yeah.
that's also nodded at as well. So we don't know what happened to the poor Black female victim racism CPS worker. And greetings, Mr. Still Learning, and other folks who are in the audience in the chat.
I'm completely brain trashed by this episode, so I might be repeating myself. Please excuse me. But in the beginning, it was explained, the white guy in the boat, it was explained like, oh, see how racism affects us too? I don't know if y'all caught that. And if I said that
Oh yeah,
before.
yeah. When I brought up, he was talking about that
Yeah.
there were enslaved white people. Go ahead.
He said we're all slaves to the machine or something like that, you know. Something implying that white people are also slaves or victims to the system of white supremacy, which is in no way, shape, or form
now
true.
that's
that's
Mr.
that.
Glover's confusion right there. That's
Yeah,
Mr.
that's
Glover's
that implied
confusion.
blindfolded justice.
Yeah,
But I
another
did.
note I wrote. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh no, I was just gonna say I did think that it was interesting how the white male knew more about the history of that area and basically the Black history more than the Black male who was in confusion. I thought that was interesting.
That's the first note I wrote.
Oh yeah,
He knew
but that's
his
common. That's common.
Right.
Yeah, it
I
has
think
to
Mr.
be.
Glover knows that's something to say. It's something that's saying that if you're ignorant about what the potential happening to you under racism, bam, it's gonna happen to you.
Yeah. Also, there's a hold on. There's a docu-series called The Worst Roommate Ever, and like in the first episode, it brings up this lady. Her name is Dorothea Puente. It was a white woman. She was in Sacramento, California, and pretty much it gave me like correlations to what these two anti-sex females were doing, where they were taking in Black children, but pretty much she was taking in like these elderly and mentally disabled people, but she was also killing them for their social security checks. So, yep. So Dorothea Puente, Dorthea Puente, Dorothea Puente.
I think that Donald Glover, I think he's he's still confused. He's still a victim, but I think he's slightly in tune with white culture, with white people.
Clearly.
With the wash rag, with the food, with how the white couple, the white anti-sexual women, how they mistreated the non-white children, had them painting the house, gardening, and just it was just a horrible episode. Thank you.
They want to dominate us economically, time and energy. And I think the code says that's why they shouldn't be allowed to adopt us. They just want their own private victims for private victimization.
What about the scene when he was watching cartoons and the cartoon that was on the screen, the alien? You know what scene I'm talking about, 05?
Yeah, where we see Rogers killing someone, smashing the head of someone.
No, but see, the scene was the person with the gun pointed up at him. We all know that if you're some sort of alien or some sort of animal on entertainment, that's a non-white person. So just look at the scene for what it is. You got this gun pointed up in the air, looking back towards him. Now, I've seen that cartoon a few times, and he always comes off, as anti-sexual. So you have this scene of him looking down and this gun pointed up in the air towards his anal area, ejaculating. I don't know if that stuck out to anyone.
Yeah, when I was seeing whenever I see some cartoon playing in some piece of content, film, television, whatever, I suspect is always riddled with messages. This included. This included as well. But I didn't particularly jot anything down besides non-white people should definitely stay away from the televisions, especially if they're watching stuff like this or cartoons like Aquarius was watching in this episode.
And then the last scene he was watching, it appeared to be the tortoise and the hare on the screen. What do you think he was implying with that?
I have no clue. See, there's so much hidden in the scenes. Like there's so much. Like
before that part came on.
And this is also American Dad or Family Guy as well. Go ahead.
American Dad.
Before that part came on with the tortoise, I think maybe in the hare or a squirrel. When he sat down, it was a white couple in the cartoon driving a very, very nice car. And he kept it on that image for an extended period of time of them smiling, driving down the road and showing the nice car. I think he's showing this is exactly how the manipulation, confusion, and deception starts. Black children left to interpret symbols that imply to them everything you need and want is right here in these identities of this ideal. So you don't want to be where you are. And then in the cartoon, I think in the car, they hit the brown animal. And then the tortoise was screaming like helplessly while the brown animal was laying there.
Yep.
I got to throw this out there also. Now, the scene before that, the song that was playing in the background, the love affair song, and the young male and his mother connecting eyes while that song is playing, and then he asked for spaghetti. Now, I don't know how it is in other places, but there's this thing with eating a woman's spaghetti.
A black female spaghetti in particular from the South or
You know,
Louisiana.
like come on now.
Well, but for the folks who may not be from so-called South, one of the
Yeah, you gotta explain that.
yeah, because
Blood, blood,
but
blood,
hold
blood
on,
clots.
because I've
Yeah,
heard the
let's
red
connect
sauce.
these dots.
Because I've
Yeah,
heard,
let's connect.
okay, I'm going to tell you what I've heard, and you can clear up the confusion. Because what I've heard, you're not supposed to eat the red sauce because a female may put their
Yes,
blood in it, their vagina blood in
yes,
it, or something like
yes.
that. And
When I
not okay. Now, what have you heard?
no,
What do
that's
you
it.
know?
No, that's it. That's it. But when it was introduced to me, when I first heard about it, it was called voodoo spaghetti.
And now,
Why
Mr.
you thought?
EJ. Okay, go ahead. But I want
No,
to hear
no, that's
EJ's interpretation of it as well.
yeah, me also. That's it. Go ahead, sir.
If she want to keep you forever, she gonna put her menstrual cycle in your spaghetti. So when I was young, no black female could make spaghetti for me. It's like uh I wasn't going over to have spaghetti. That was out the effing question. They knew it and I knew it. And I grew up in Michigan. So it was ideal. I think the whole ideal is again projecting this idea that black males are into this Freudian type of existence where they in love with their mama. And that's the love affair that matters most. Remember the black male, he was almost a deaf mute, not a eunuch, but he could apply some physical abuse if necessary. So all that tied in together. He came home to his mama, who had spaghetti, love song playing. They looking each other in the eyes. Him sitting down to the same fantasies that wanted to drive him away from her. Cycle
Yeah,
begins again.
I'm reading. It says a New Orleans tradition: spaghetti made with menstrual blood. The point is to make the menstruatee fall in love with the menstruator. Wow.
Yep.
Interesting. Looks like we're getting into a little bit of rituals, occult meaning hidden, rituals meaning things people do. So interesting, very insightful, and I get that. And again, I suspect white people allowed this show to be produced. I also suspect white people also helping work to write this show. So that whole ancestral projection onto black people, black males, and a black females expected. White culture is all about ancestral nonsense. White people have a long history and tradition of having sex with their sisters and marrying them and getting into long family feuds, wars, whatnot over and incest. So white culture, white tradition, racism, white supremacy.
And like also like Atlanta is like supposedly this like comedy. And I know in comedy they have this thing called a callback. So you got in the beginning, they're at Lake Lanier, probably in Georgia, and then they come back to Lake Lanier, Lake Lanier once the white women, you know, driving to the actual lake. So I had wrote that down too.
Yeah, mini calls back. We have spaghetti at first being bad, and then at the end it's good. We have the dream sequence, Lake Lanier, and then we have when the white female that are eliminating themselves, Lake Lanier, another callback, and we have if you pay attention, you can really pinpoint exactly what's gonna happen in this show, and also if you are less confused about how the system works and the many tragedies that have occurred, if you even see this hat, like once I saw this hat, I was like, okay, what the hell is going on? And it wasn't until I actually probably was right away because I'm not that confused, but the hat really is like the hammering it in there that this is supposed to be Where is it?
The Hart family.
Exactly. It's supposed to be the Hart family. Where's
That was the hat Buckwheat wore.
Yeah.
Oh, so the race is countersexuals who Sarah they gave a black male this hat. And they kept saying he looked like Aloe Black, but
LL Black.
yeah,
Yeah.
who's a black male who's in a tragic arrangement. It looks like. But
Him too?
don't know if there's more to that, but that is something that came up. So, Miss Ash, did you want to chime in or?
I just, I mean, not really. Well, something I was wondering was, because I missed the ending, did he actually say anything about the true story? Like, that it's like a true story? Because if not, people are not going to know.
Oh no, I don't think so. See that's why we have to do this decoding because I don't think a lot of people are going to do any digging or research about this episode. So no, I don't think there's any reference. If a person were to Google it, they may be able to discover that. But no,
A lot of people know. It got a lot of coverage, especially in the counter-racist community. A lot of people know
But
about
I mean, for regular people, I think a lot of the coverage was very suppressed. Like you would think for the situation that happened for these two females to have killed multiple, like it was like 6 kids or something.
6 people.
On top of one of the kids already having gone viral, like a year or two before, you would think that it was like a household thing, like Gabby Petito type of thing. Obviously, it's not because they're.
Why would you think that about black children?
I said obviously not because it's black children. That's why I'm saying that a lot of people don't know about this. Like,
oh, I think a lot of people know. It just we don't care.
The system can't afford at this point to criminalize white women. They still have to raise the white children and have to be born. So
we aren't going to criminalize them.
Yeah,
we aren't going to.
We already are, but we don't have the means and the ability to push that.
If somebody murders you tell them, or murder somebody, they can't be murdered. Or somebody they can't be.
Anyone can be murdered, of course.
Right, and then in a war, usually they try to match life for life or triple the number that got done in. So we ain't even on the basics of. Come on now. A basic blood feud would have ended this a long time ago.
Well, what I was getting at as the system itself not criminalizing these white women. I understand what you're saying, but that's what I was referring to.
If you're a victim, it's your responsibility to criminalize your victimizer. First, God put that on you.
But the creator, I think the God is a white term. Word, I may be incorrect. I would say
whatever it is, God in you, whatever.
I understand. I'm with you. Go ahead.
If I punched you in the face as a black male to a black male, you would not. Your first option would not be to go get them people.
It wouldn't be my first option if you were a white male.
True. Perfect. So on basics, if someone murders offspring, there's no in line to that. Even whites don't do that. If you kill somebody they care about and then you off yourself, they spend the rest of their life trying to hurt everything you cared about.
Yeah,
the only thing
the revenge complex is strong in the racist mind. That is correct.
Sometimes that's the only form of justice available to victims. And I think with our level of victimization, that sometimes would be at a large amount if victims just started being honest with themselves.
Yeah. I don't feel like that's necessarily justice as much as it is immediate power. Isn't that what Neely Fuller talks about?
Yeah, immediate power.
Yeah, one moment. Let me. I do want to like finish sharing my notes here, and I think this is very significant to the discussion being had. So the black female, she calls her offspring. She's like, he's not dumb, he's an idiot, right? Now, the definition of an idiot is, according to Google, is a stupid person. And definition of dumb is temporarily unable or unwilling to speak, you know, or to make dumb or unheard silence. So I'm like, wow, this is really diction, word choice, very precise, very interesting, and very telling, because you know this language, although it may be harsh and may seem incorrect coming from her his attempted parents, but it seems to be accurate because his behavior was quite idiotic, dancing, because I understand being excited, but you don't have to dance on the table because you're excited. That is idiotic behavior. So some truth hidden in the and the words here, perhaps.
And I think that's a really good catch. I didn't even notice that. I thought it was interesting. This black female character really confused me. I guess because she's a very confused victim. But at one point, she's talking to this child at the school, telling him, like, warning him about white people. But then she lets the people take her kid. I'm like really confused by that.
Yeah,
I'm like, is this female just very confused, or if she just give up on him?
Maybe she was showing exactly what it was. She didn't have any power when it came down to it. That's why when she said, y'all got me fucked up. You think I'm about to beg you for power you have in your hands at all times? Get his ass up out of here. Because she knew there's no way this could have even went down without some type of complicity from him and then people at the school. And I've known black females who know that. They're not confused about who's ultimately in power. And then when you come to their door, they're like, okay, then do what you're going to do. She was very, I don't think she was confused or confusing. She was very clear on what the bottom line was.
Interesting. Well, yeah. And let's not confuse being less confused with being codified. A person could be less confused but still very uncodified to how they're existing in the system. So
maybe that was her code. That was her code in dealing with him. You don't have any options beyond me at the moment other than them people, and they only have two goals for you: death and penitentiary. I got the spaghetti and this warm hot three hot, whatever. The other route is you certain to not like that route.
Oh yeah, and yeah. Do you want to discuss what she told him about the laughing children in the classroom? What's going to happen in the future? Do you remember that
was very less confused.
That was brilliant.
I'm sure everybody in here has experienced or been that kid, like dancing and laughing in a class, trying to impress people.
Yeah, I've always been that silly nigger in the classroom, and I wish someone would have slapped me across the face. I wish someone would have did anything and said, "Hey, Swa, 05, you silly nigger, white people are planning to sabotage you, kill you, mistreat you in ways you can't even fathom right now because you're so stupid." I wish someone would have told me that, and perhaps would have, got me to be a lot less silly, if I had been an offspring. If offspring are young victims of racism, perhaps if we know that, there's actual people working against us, thinking of ways to harm us, maybe if we have this in our minds, we will be, at bare minimum, at least a little bit more aware of our actions, or at least other people's actions, especially white people. So it's really interesting. So you're definitely Black self-respect moment for this bum on this scene right here in this scene. All right, shall we move into episode 2? No more notes. All righty, so we are going to end here. That was CRWS Counter Racist Review, decoding of Atlanta, Season 3, Episode 1. It is March 25th, 2022. We'll be here in about probably 40 minutes. We'll be back on live to discuss Episode 2 of Season 3 of Atlanta. So we'll be right back.